Nature Watch Foundation has joined forces with Cheshire Police and the RSPCA to launch Operation Recall. Operation Recall is a project whereby we aim to decrease the amount of livestock worrying and attacks that we see in our rural and urban communities.
You don't have to have an animal that's from working lines to have a very high prey drive. Your family pet, once it gets into a field of sheep, it doesn't even need to want to hurt them, it can go and chase. As soon as you get into a field of sheep are prey animals, so they'll flee. They'll flock together and flee. And for a bouncy little pup, that could be a great game to play.
Your best way to describe it is, like I said, I've said this to a lot of people. If a lady is 8 months pregnant, she was run across a field, 200 yards, what would happen? She'd have a baby premature. Unfortunately, with the sheep, they'll have the babies premature and everything's dead. Veterinary cost to put things right, the trauma to the animals, and anything that gets worried, they are traumatised for a long, long time in our experience and what we've experienced over the years.
What impact does livestock worrying and attacks have on the rural communities?
Livestock worrying and attacks doesn't just impact the rural community, it also impacts the owner of the dog or the person in control of that dog. There's also witnesses, young children out walking that may have seen an attack, and it's horrific. Generally, if a dog worries or attacks a sheep, for example, the dog will want to play. The sheep don't want to play, they'll just want to run. Generally, a dog will bite up at the front of a sheep, and some of the injuries can be horrific, to the extent that without lots of medication, which is costly, that animal will have to be put down. And most of these things can be avoided.
And can you think of any examples to share with us of the types of consequences that dogs involved in livestock worrying and attacks have experienced before?
Yeah, I think this is a concern. In some instances, it may be that the consequences dictate that the owner of the livestock has gone out and shot the dog. That's a concern. We certainly don't want that to happen. If there is a dog chasing livestock, it's a behavioural issue. So some people will go down the road quite sensibly of looking at approved behavioural experts. If your dog's chasing livestock, don't ignore it. Do something about it. Take positive action to make that better. But equally, in some occasions, your dog may be in a situation where other alternative methods have to be taken. It may be that in some instances your dog might lose its life, and we certainly don't want that to happen. What we want here is, we want you to listen to Operation Recall, we want you to be aware of it, but more importantly, we want you to be responsible for your dog. That's the key. I can't stress enough how much it's part of your family. The welfare is important. If you take your dog out and you'll look after it safely, and don't let it loose near livestock.
We pride ourselves as farmers as being compliant and supportive of the standards that are given to us as dairy farmers. We're inspected, but we like to think that we go above and beyond that by caring for those animals as well. It's really difficult for us to maintain that when one of the major risks is something that we have absolutely no control over. And that's where we need the help of the people who are walking in the fields alongside us. All the legislation, all the guidance, all the standards in the world can't protect our animals from external influences and external sources, such as you taking your dog for a walk. Please keep it on a lead.
Operation Recall is a partnership arrangement that's been set up with Cheshire Police, the RSPCA and Nature Watch. We're all coming together to look at ways of tackling the sadly increasing numbers of attacks of dogs on livestock. It's a concern, it's a serious animal welfare concern. So working together, we can do something about it, stronger together, make a better approach, and really share ideas as to how we can move forward, and to raise awareness among the public that this is an ever increasing problem and we need to encourage responsible dog ownership.